Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. I talk to people in city government, the school system. Recently, we did a show at Firestone Stadium. We also did a show with the three-time state champions, Jackson Joy, and also we had our gentleman, Nick Tavanello. He was on the show from Columbus, Ohio, so we're real happy to do that. Karen Hamilton's with us today, and she is with a group called International Student Exchange. Mm-hmm. And can you introduce your guest?
Yes, sure. I have a former host family from last year. Her name is Christine Hunter, and she and her family are a local Wadsworth family that hosted a young lady from France last year,
wow,
Louise.
That's really really great to have you both on the show. What are the goals of your organization, International Student Exchange?
I think the big goal is to try and bring people together internationally to create lifelong friendships and also create an understanding and acceptance of diversity. And just bring people together to learn about different cultures and share experiences.
And how long has the group been in existence?
The organization's been in existence since 1982, and I joined it in 2007.
Okay, what motivated you to take the plunge?
Well, I kind of fell into it.
Okay.
I was a high school German teacher at Cuyahoga Falls High School. I received an email one day from my current supervisors, Penny and Leighton Smith, asking if I had any families in my, any of my students who'd like to host. I sent out, I'm a huge proponent of study abroad. I've studied abroad myself. So I passed that along. 2 of my students came forward and said they'd like to host. I sent that along to the organization, and they said, well, would you like to get trained to be an area representative? And the rest is history, 17 years.
I would imagine there's some trepidation in a family unit. Things may be organized or quasi-organized, but suddenly you have another individual joining. What is your mindset going into that?
So I feel like was in a unique position because I actually did this as a student when I was in high school. I think middle school and high school, my family hosted 4 different students from different countries. So I kind of knew what it was going to be like on that end, but doing it as a parent was a little bit different because my children are younger. They were in 5th grade and below at the time. And so, you truly just have another family member just like that. But it went really well.
Talking before the show is kind of interesting. You told me that sometimes your kids confided in a girl from France, I believe, and would not. Then she would go ahead and talk to you. It was kind of topsy-turvy, but it really was another almost quasi-adult helping get the family.
Yeah, we had the best, of course. Right. She was truly one of the best that's been through the program. She was just super mature, and she was 18 when she got here. But yeah, it was again, like you said, I had another child, but I also had another adult. And so my son had a tough 5th grade year because that happens. And so it was really nice to have a big sister. He had a big sister for the year, and it was good for him.
And lifelong friendships.
Yeah.
Your family, and sometimes the families travel and get together later on, which is really nice. They can show you around their particular country, and it's just what did the family get out of that experience?
What did our family?
Yes.
We truly got another family member.
Right.
And so I have another daughter that lives in France.
Is there a picture there that we have some shows, some pictures
this was
there?
when we went to Niagara Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Our family loves to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually lived abroad for about 1.5 years. We lived in Thailand for my husband's job. And so it was nothing new to us to have different cultures represented and we met a lot of people through that. And so it was a neat experience having it in our house.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, what school districts are involved in the program? And you probably do travel to various schools and communities along the way.
Yeah, I grew up in this area in Medina County and Highland, in Hinckley actually. So I know a lot about the school districts anyway, but I place within Medina County, also in neighboring Wayne County and Summit County as of now, but I could place anywhere in the area. I tend to stay closer to home because I'm busy with my own family, so I want to make sure that I'm accessible to my host families, to my students, to the schools if they need anything. If they have a problem and they say, call me up and they say, Karen, we're having an issue, or he or she's having trouble with some grades. Can you come over and just sit down and talk with me? I like to be accessible, and I hope my host families always feel that if they contact me for something, that I will, promptly respond to them and help them out. And if I'm far away, I can't get there quickly, to just drop everything and be there. When they're closer, I can help a lot better.
Sure. And could you talk about the ages of the foreign exchange student? Now, sometimes foreign countries have English taught at younger ages, but really it's probably more a high school program.
Yeah, the ages around the world when students start learning English varies. In Europe, they generally start when they're about 7 or 8 years old. So by the time they've come, most of them have had 6 to 8 years or more of English. Depending on the country, some of the Asian countries, they've maybe started at that same age, but they are more focused on the written language, so they have to do a little bit more work. But you see bigger strides when they come over as far as their English, speaking abilities. They start out a little bit behind some of the other students and then really make, big advances. The students come over, usually when they apply, they're they can be 14 to 18 years old when they apply. By the time they get here, they're usually anywhere from 15 to 18 years old.
And usually those students probably have little adjustment problems. They probably have been thinking about this for a while. Their parents are on board. They're mature beyond their years, and they probably are just soaking everything in and getting to know America and Medina County and the Buckeye State pretty well.
Yeah, and they might be from another country, but they're just like every other teen. They have their growing pains. They're sometimes 15, 16, 17 years old, and they're typical teenagers. They like to do things like typical teenagers. They like to go to malls. They like to, go to dances, hang out with their friends, do all the things our teenagers do. And they just have to learn to adapt to a different culture, though. So they've got those strides, which helps when we have a great host family like the Hunters that really accept the student in, make them feel welcome. The kids, take part, get to know them, treat them just like another member of the family. It really has a huge impact on their life.
Christine, what would you say to people that are reluctant to go ahead and host a foreign exchange student? You really reap a lot more than you'd expect at first hand, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So I was definitely hesitant at first. We met because our daughters ended up playing on the same softball team 2 years ago, and so we connected through that. And I was nervous because my kids were younger. At the time, I had a 3-year-old. And you just never know how somebody's going to do with a 3-year-old. And she's a lovely, fun 3-year-old. But the very first question I asked to Louise was, how are you with young children? And it turned out she actually had a cousin that she didn't technically help raise, but anytime they were in town, she was in charge of him. And so she's like, I love children. And I said, okay, good. And it was just the perfect fit. That was my biggest worry was, how's she going to get along with my kids? I have a loud, crazy house. Americans are notoriously loud anyway. And of Americans, my family is especially loud. But we warned her several times beforehand because we do have communication before they get here. And so we were able to tell her, we're a loud family, but she fit right in. Honestly, it was not much time at all before she was comfortable with us. And
yeah. What are some things host families need to know before they make that decision?
So I think one of the biggest things is they have to have a bedroom. And there are specific rules about, it doesn't have to be their own bedroom, but if for my case it did, because I have younger children. They can be within a certain like 2 or 3 year age gap and share with the same, you know, a female can share with a female. But so we had to get the house ready, and we had to do a background check and things like that to make sure that we're safe, which honestly that made me feel really good to know that the program did that. Because I know that I'm not crazy, but I feel like it gave her parents peace of mind. I don't know what other stuff. See, it was unique for me because I had done it before as a student. But the hardest part for me, as Karen knows, was telling her goodbye. That was tough.
In host families, when you're hosting students, there's kind of with exchange programs, it's generally the kind of rule is that it's not goodbye, it's see you later. Is kind of how it kind of ends at the end of the year, to remind everybody, like when I tell my students, it's not goodbye, it's see you later. Let me know when you come back, and I'd love to treat you to dinner and get to know you. Yeah, I mean, not get to know you, but see you again, stay in contact.
Yeah, that's very very good, because it certainly is a relationship that certainly the bonding is there, and it certainly would continue. Do you try to get the activities for those exchange students? First of all, how many? Do you have a goal, or do you have each year is different?
My goal is to help as many students as possible.
Right.
That can vary. There have been years where I've had maybe, in earlier years when I also had younger children growing up. Now they've gotten older, so it's been easier to kind of balance trying to put in the time. It takes a lot of time and effort to find host families and then supervise the students, make sure to organize outings with them. I don't, in the very beginning, I think when I had maybe 2 students who would just kind of meet individually, with the 2 or the 3, as I've gotten more, it's more fun for them to go on an outing. So every month when I meet with them, instead of just meeting individually, we work together, we try and find ideas of what they'd like to do. Then we organize, the day when everybody can, or as many as possible can make it, and then we'll do something. So we've gone ice skating, gone to the mall, and then gone dress shopping. We've gone to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, up to the Art Museum. We've gone to the Urban Air to go trampoline jumping. All kinds of different outings, depending on what their interests are, and then going out to dinner. This past Sunday, we just had kind of our final picnic. We may still get together in May for like a dinner for whoever can make it somewhere out to eat. But we had a picnic at Buckeye Woods. Some of the students brought international dishes and desserts, and so we kind of got to have some Italian tiramisu. We had some, what did we have? We had Spanish. Quesadilla patata, so like a potato quesadilla. We had French macaroons, really good. So we had a nice variety. We spent like 5 hours at the park just playing cornhole, playing catch. I brought some mitts, so some of the kids, if they hadn't played baseball, that they could get some playing catch in. Yes, please.
It isn't always that the students learn from the American, but we learn some of their customs and their habits, and like you say, food and their activities and games, and it's just a give and take. We learn so much from their activities,
and I encourage them when they come to even if they're not good cooks, or if they haven't cooked or baked a lot at home, maybe to bring some kind of recipe that they can try, and then try it with their host families. I don't know if you got to do some cooking.
She
and
was
baking,
more
didn't
learning from me.
But at the same time, it's usually something that's kind of fun to try together.
So I actually have a home bakery.
Yes.
And one of the ways, so for people who don't know about this, if you're interested in the program, you get a sheet that will say there's a student that's this age, they are interested in these sports and these activities. And so one of the things that specifically Louise said that she liked was baking. And so we thought, that'll be great. And it was, and she loved being in the kitchen with me and learning things about what I do. And I did a couple different like vendor events, and she would come with me and just hang out and help. It was really fun. We're
beyond the situation where you had to deal with COVID. how trying was that? And I'm glad we're on the other side,
Yes,
right?
it was a unique experience. I had, what did I have? I think at the time I had about 9 or 10 students
Wow.
here at the time. So it kind of unraveled, I think, in March or
Yes,
April.
it
So
did.
then by April we had students, early mid-April, making plans. Their agents had made plans for them to fly home. And so they kind of different times. Everybody was kind of doing the online learning, like all the American high school students. I had 1 or 2 that ended up staying till the end of their program and just did the online schooling from their host family's home with them, quarantined. Because one specifically, he was from Taiwan, and he just said, once I go home, I'm going to have to be sent to an apartment or some kind of like a condominium building, quarantined for 2 weeks when I arrive before I can even go home to see my family in my country. He said, so rather than just sit there, for 2 weeks and do that, I might as well just stay here. And the host family was okay with that, and he, did his online schooling, finished it up, and then flew home.
It sounds like there's not any one section of the world. Thailand, and I've heard Japan and France and all sorts of. How is that determined? Or is the international group worldwide?
It depends. It kind of depends on the connections that organizations have with different countries.
Right.
We place most students from most of the European countries, have some Eastern European countries as well, like Slovakia, the Czech Republic. We've had students from Turkey, Kyrgyzstan, some of the primary European countries, Brazil in South America, Thailand, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan, so Mexico, so a pretty good variety of students.
So I'm sure sometimes the teachers could, use the expertise of those students in classes that they're
Yes,
teaching, especially foreign language,
and I
French.
highly encourage students and teachers in the district, any of the districts where I have exchange students, to talk to me or talk to the students and just utilize them. I mean, it's a shame if you've got someone from another culture and another country, to not have them share with our own students in our district. I actually, I think about 6 years ago, I started working with the Central Intermediate School and Shannon Schmidt. She's one of the primary organizers for the 6th grade cultural fair. And they just had the cultural fair evening. I had a table with several of my students on Wednesday. 3 of the young ladies came for a table so we could try and share some awareness of hosting there. And today I was supposed to be at First, there's a picture of us, and at First Friday, but it didn't work out that I was able to go this evening due to a baseball game.
Right, sure.
I couldn't miss.
Sure.
But then I'm also next week, every year I bring the Wadsworth students, and I also partner with the AYA program, students that happen to be at Wadsworth High School, and I take the students in the afternoon and they prepare some Google slide presentations that they share with the 6th graders. And I've been doing this since probably at least 6 or 7 years, because my senior, I remember, was at presentations when he was in 6th grade, seeing me with my exchange students. So it's probably been at least 6 years or so. And then the kids love it. They get to hang out with international teenagers. At the end of the presentations, they ask questions, and they seem to really enjoy it.
That would spark their learning.
Yeah.
They would go ahead and research, and with the internet, they could go ahead and see the customs and the economic system, the government, and just so many things about that nation. We are a shrinking world. A couple falls ago went to England and London and took the Channel and went to Paris and Normandy. Of course, a history teacher had to go ahead and see Normandy, and where our troops really had a big part in World War II, no question. Do the other host families, do you talk to them occasionally, maybe at activities or, and what do they share with you?
So, I mean, there are times where different families would say, hey, we're having an issue with this, or like she said, sometimes it's grades, sometimes it's behaviors, sometimes you really just don't mesh, and that could be said for anything. And so I don't know, there are times where they would reach out, hey, what did your student do for this, or simple things like what activities is your student in, or something super fun last year, she mentioned it a little bit, is prom and the Christmas dance or whatever they call it here, the winter formal.
Snowball or homecoming. Yeah.
So I ended up taking several of these girls out one night to try on and try to buy dresses for prom and the winter formal. So much fun doing that with girls because these are the things that they see in movies. These are the things that they have pictured as American, and especially prom. It's just such a big deal, and so it was a lot of fun doing stuff like that. But I did have to coordinate with the other parents to get some of those things.
And kind of to piggyback on that, wouldn't you say, I know your family travels a lot.
Yeah.
So her exchange student, Louise, got a lot of experiences traveling to a lot of states.
18 states while she was here.
Wow.
But I think it's also important for host families to know that they don't have to be that family that, if you not every family can afford to or doesn't have the budget, in a certain year to travel all kinds of places. Right. Students don't come over necessarily dreaming and expecting that they're going to go on these big trips or go far away or anything, because there are and I know this from my own experience living abroad, there are so many fascinating new things that are right in our neck of the woods that are new to them. Seeing Amish country, going to Niagara Falls. National Park, Cuyahoga Valley, Columbus.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, it just goes on and on. The things Stan Hewitt.
So I don't want families, to feel that they have to, have some kind of big plan trip in their budget, or that they were planning to do that year, or a cruise or anything like that. That's not something that the students come over expecting. I think one of the most important things that a host family can offer is that attention, that being willing to go and support them with, it means so much if they decide to play soccer, that the host family makes it to as many games as they're able to, just like they would do their own child, hopefully, and just be there to support them and cheer them on. It means the world to them.
And I think that's what is important about the sheets that we can look at that say they're interested in soccer. And that's how we did it when I was in high school. We found students that seemed like they had similar interests as us. So we knew that the girl who was in swimming, or the girl who liked swimming, would probably be a swimmer on the same team as me. So that's nice when you do have a student that's same age range, that they can be able to have rides to practice and stuff like that. But even then, there were ways around it. Louise was part of the lacrosse team and just found a ride each day. She had a group of girls that she went with from school to the lacrosse field, and then we just had to pick her up, just like the rest of our kids.
We had Kaylin Davis on recently, and Dana Heyer, and Wadsworth, really known for its band and choir and speech and debate, and they can certainly explore. And Wadsworth is a district, and certainly the other districts have all sorts of, and they pride themselves on getting kids in activities. And when they're in activities, they don't have time to make poor decisions. I've always said, as an administrator, that helps the students to know that they can get in something.
Yeah, and it helps them make friends. That's the biggest. I think the biggest thing with Louise didn't have a lot of problems with that. She's very social, but some of them, when I was growing up, one of them did not have a sport or activity right at the beginning of the year, and she struggled. She struggled to make friends, and then once she started playing basketball, then she really fell into her group of friends and the people that she was going to be with. So that's why the different activities, not only sports, but like you said, band, choir, a lot of them join the
Lacrosse.
International Club.
Yes,
the International Club.
How about the counselors? Could they sometimes help and intervene if there's, you talk about grade issues or, situations where they don't have the background for a math or science class?
Well, I've encountered great counselors at all the school districts that I've worked with. They're very supportive of the exchange students, and I know here specifically in Wadsworth, the counselors, the administrators, Dr. Hill, the school board, they've been wonderful as far as supporting the program, supporting the exchange students, getting them involved. The counselors are willing to help, with the students if they're in an English class that's a bit too much work for them because it's just another language. They're reading, large large novels that it just takes them longer to do. It's not that they're incapable of doing it. It just takes a lot of time to balance out with other classes that they have. They've been very good about adjusting, as have the teachers, to kind of balance out the workload for them and be, find where they fit best.
Christine, why should a family consider hosting a foreign exchange student?
I mean, I think what you said before is that we have another lifelong family member and friend. And my kids really, for that time being, had a big sister to look up to. And I think it'll be different for every person. Everybody's going to have a different situation in their family, but I think it's good. You can see different cultures and then through them meet their friends who are oftentimes other exchange students, and I love meeting people, so.
It's a learning experience for the host families, and certainly the exchange students are very happy, and they probably send information back, especially maybe at Halloween. We have activities that some countries don't observe, like Christmas is probably pretty universal, but sometimes 4th of July, they haven't been here yet, but we have some things that are very unique.
Yes, so they share that when they come here. They get to learn about those experiences. Plus, then as they go through the year, there are holidays that they have that we don't celebrate, so they like to share those. And one of the sweetest things that my host families do a lot of times is find out about some of the holidays ahead of time and surprise them by celebrating them without the student even knowing, and then all of a sudden they wake up to a French tradition or a German tradition of putting your shoes out for St. Nicholas Day, things like that. So it really means a lot to the kids.
Yeah, it goes again both ways.
Yeah.
We certainly learn from other people, and thank you very much, ladies, for being on the show today. I do the show because I learn a lot. I learn a lot each and every week, and thank you for viewing Bruce on the Loose, and we will be back next week with another important person. Thank you very much.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.